Hello and welcome. You're listening to the CNET UK podcast. This is episode 374 for Friday the 31st of January 2014. It's Sony rock and roll, but I like it. This week we're taking a look at the venerable tech giant that brought us the Walkman and asking whether Sony can ever recapture those glory days. Plus, Google drops a few million quid on artificial intelligence and Nokia gets ready for its first Android phone. I'm Rich Trenholm. Joining me in our London studio this week is Andy Hoyle.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. Oh, man, I am great. What day is it today? Friday, technically.
Well, when you're listening to this, never mind. Anyway,
because then it'll have been my birthday.
Oh,
my birthday on Thursday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Well, I apologise in advance for not getting it.
Hooray.
And Luke Westaway, is it your birthday?
I wanted to say happy birthday earlier, but I didn't feel like I could speak until I'd been introduced.
Yeah.
It's because I had a Victorian upbringing.
I should have bear that in mind in future. I just won't introduce you and then just like leave you standing there.
Yeah, and then right at the end be like, and welcome Luke. I'm like, hi, bye.
The end.
The end.
Okay, cool. Well, we are as always filming this podcast, so check out the video on CNET or youtube.com/CNET. Okay, let's kick off with Crave.
Nokia has been working on an Android phone, we think, for a while, and we've seen some more screenshots of it, and we've seen some more specs, and maybe it's a bit of good news, maybe it's a bit of bad news. I'm going to start with some bad news for you.
Okay, hit us.
Okay. Wait, hang on first. What's this phone called? How do we? I need to.
We think it's going to be called the Nokia Normandy or the Nokia X.
Normandy sounds like a
interesting.
code name to me.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be the Nokia X if it's going to be anything. So yeah, this is supposed to be their first crack at doing an Android phone.
Yeah, moving away from having either Windows Phone for its Lumia phones or its own Asha OS for its cheaper Asha phones.
At last, the wonderful Nokia design with all of the apps that Android offers.
Oh
At
my
last.
God! Let me stop you for a second, Luke.
What?
I know. This will come as quite the surprise and the unpleasant shock for you. Actually, it is rumoured that Nokia's Android phone won't actually have access to the Google Play Store and all the apps held therein. Oh, goodness me, he's a madman.
My goodness. What?
I know.
Why exactly? Yeah, that's completely baffling. Why is that? I mean, this is all rumour, obviously, at this stage. But why would Nokia do that? That just seems ridiculous.
It is all rumour. It's all rumour that the phone exists in the first place, and now we're finding reasons to slate it, which is brilliant because that's what we do.
Well, that's nice. So it's not well. Hang on, so this is all rumours. So we don't even know that it is the phone for sure, although we think it's very likely.
It's heavily
We're seeing a lot of leaks.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of photos, a lot of leaks from different sources. So
And
it's
do you know
looking
what?
pretty good.
I was looking at some sort of leaked pictures of this phone the other day, and the interface was looking so heavily customised that I did think this doesn't look very Androidy. This looks more like the Kindle Fire tablets, which technically run Android, but it's so skinned that
They basically use the Android architecture at its absolute core
exactly.
in terms of how it uses some of the hardware, but all the actual user interface built on top is completely different.
So it's a bit like Nokia's making a new operating system entirely, which is exactly what Nokia needs.
Yes and
Let's
no.
let's call a spade here. It's Windows Phone basically. They're taking Android and presumably for the apps. That's the only real reason why they'd use that. And then they're making this interface that's got all these coloured squares. It's these kind of like big tiles. It's just like Windows Phone.
Right.
It doesn't
So
necessarily mean that
I
it
don't really
won't be able to use Android apps. Is kind of because like you mentioned, the Kindle is Android at its core, and the reason why that's got access to quite a lot of Android apps is because it's quite easy for developers to port apps over, basically, because they share some underlying architecture. It's not, you don't need to completely rewrite an app from scratch.
That's
so that
true.
could help.
And you get your apps from the Amazon store, and then that's probably what will happen with this is you'll get your apps from a Nokia store.
A Nokia store, and it'll be easier for developers to put apps on, because it does have, like I mentioned before, the Asha software, and it looks specs wise like this phone would be perhaps a replacement for its Asha line, because it's got a 1 gigahertz processor, 512 meg of RAM, a 4-inch screen with quite a low resolution. So it's looking like it's going to be a very affordable phone.
Sure.
And the Asha phones have very, very few apps as well, and those are becoming more important. So it could be that it's doing this in order to get Android on a cheap phone.
That
and
also doesn't
use
have
some
any apps.
Also doesn't have apps, but
Well,
it can bring some apps.
Cheaper phones is the way to go for Nokia because they've got the 520 that's selling like warmed baked goods at the moment. So that's kind of driving their losses being slightly less good than it's being less horrible than they could have been.
Yeah.
But
alleviated.
Exactly. Yeah. Mitigating.
Like soothing balm on smashed
on 90-degree
smashed
burns.
limbs.
Or
Yeah,
a
exactly.
strepsil down a parched throat, which I bring up because I've got quite a sore throat and a headache. I think I'm coming down with something, and I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes talking in close proximity to you guys. So,
Well, thanks for thanks
Thanks for sharing that. That's good.
Can you get sick over sound waves?
yes, you can on the
listen-
CNET UK podcast because of how well it's recorded.
You can when it's in HD. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Which so don't
you
forget to
can
watch
really
in HD.
hear the infection. Good.
So yeah, good. Well, that's good to know. Well, it'll be interesting to see how long this. I mean, hopefully we'll see it at MWC next month, where we'll see all the new phones and tablets for the year, and maybe we'll see this come along. And it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts now that Microsoft is, of course, buying Nokia.
Yeah,
So, there we
that's going to make it really interesting.
Yeah.
Now Nokia's Microsoft is involved, and it wants Nokia to use Windows Phone because it's Microsoft's. And now it's all no, Android, lol, YOLO.
It's like Nokia's crazy stag do.
Really?
It's like they're about to get married.
How so?
They're about to get married to Microsoft, and they're like, "Whoa, one crazy night!
Yeah, one last
Android."
fling.
Android
Yeah.
strippers, let's go. Stuffing up money into Google's G-string. G-string, there you go. Anyway. So, speaking of Google and G-strings.
Speaking of
and stuff,
Google, what a beautiful segue.
I know, it's
I mean,
good,
that
isn't it?
had romantic overtones and everything.
I had a
Yeah.
team of scriptwriters working on that for a week.
I can tell.
Mm.
Not that you couldn't write something that polished, Rich.
No,
That wasn't what I
I
meant.
can barely read it out,
So,
let alone
so
write it.
Google is up to
He's
some more
drunk.
interesting things, as it has reportedly bought a UK artificial intelligence company
Yeah.
called DeepMind.
DeepMind, wow.
DeepMind,
DeepMind.
which sounds every bit as terrifying as I believe it actually is.
It sounds like a
DeepMind.
computer from a 70s TV show that, despite being the size of a house and mostly working by having tapes that go boop 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 boop,
Yeah.
boop, 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 is somehow capable of becoming sentient and taking over the world.
Yeah,
But,
definitely. And
yeah.
foiling
Google.
criminals.
Oh,
Exactly. Until the doctor or Captain Kirk comes in or someone and like
What?
talks it to death.
What about a sci-fi series about smart houses, but they're all kind of the same because they've got the same personality in the cloud.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not the same house each week, but it's kind of the same personality in each house.
Okay.
And they have to Home Alone style foil burglars. So every episode is about a different house.
Yeah.
Has to foil a different team of burglars.
Right. Oh,
using,
I like that.
using AI and the things that it can do by like opening the cupboards and stuff.
I love the
maybe
things.
like fire open the dishwasher, trip them up, spray them with water, open the microwave, irradiate them.
Turn the heat all the way up so
That'd
their,
be a
their
horrible way
glasses
to go.
their glasses steam up and then they trip over.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're all like, we'll stop stealing.
And then they all get chased off, and then right at the end, the house is like, oh, I could have just turned on the burglar alarm and electrocuted them to death. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
Lesson learned.
How's
That
Your
happens.
doors
That
are
happens
locked.
every week, does it?
Tell the other burglars what you saw.
You brutally beat to death a team of murderers every week in a different house. This is your idea of a fun show
Yes. We could make it a
It's
reality
got a
show
talking
as well.
house.
that killed people.
We can-
Anyway,
we can call
I
him-
love,
Speaking
I love
of
what
which-
we move on to after talking about news things.
Speaking of which, I know we talked about smart homes last week, and I didn't know about it at the time, but there's a Disney film about a smart home. That was
Really?
made in the, I think that must have been the 90s, in the kind of cyberspace boom. And it's got Katie Siegel from Married with Children and Sons of Anarchy as the voice of this house. And these kids are living in this smart house controlled by a computer. And at one stage, the kid's a bit down, so the house invites all his friends round for a party. And stuff.
Aw.
It sounds absolutely amazing.
Is the house called something like Sharon, but it's all in capitals and it's like a backronym for Supreme High Tech
Yeah, exactly.
Audio.
Yeah,
reticule.
I'll have to look up what this is. But anyway, let's talk about some actual news
Well,
for a second.
yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
go
go.
Anyway,
back.
so DeepMind, there's not actually a whole lot known about it, but it's focused on the.
It's a good job we filled time with all that.
Well, exactly. I actually haven't got a lot to say. The artificial intelligence related to learning, and it is sort of been thought that might be used to better help sort of improve search results and anything that's sort of like really tailored to the user. So I'm thinking things like Google Now could benefit from that kind of thing. It's sort of
Could be
taking in all your search results, all your location stuff. Right now, Google Now is a bit, well, it's crap. And so, actually
Yeah.
buying a good company that does a lot of AI stuff behind the scenes could be a good way of doing that. But
Could be cool.
It's called Smart House. There we go. And it's a Disney movie. There you go. It's actually called Smart
Yeah.
House. So there you go. Look out for that one.
Look out for Smart House. Google's been doing some creepy stuff though recently.
Speaking of smart houses,
buying, yeah.
I assume you're going to talk about Nest, right?
No.
Well,
Yes,
Google-
Nest.
Google
Nest.
bought Nest.
Google bought Nest, of course.
Okay, tell us about Nest, Luke.
Oh, Nest. Ooh,
Smooth, guys, smooth.
Broke my segue.
company. It's Nest. Crikey. It's a company. It makes like little swiggly bits that go on your house, like thermostats,
smoke alarms.
alarms, that kind of thing. And Google bought it. Google also bought Boston Dynamics,
That's
which makes
the terrifying one.
yeah, which makes frightening robots. So what we're looking at basically is a super intelligent animal robot that mainly controls the temperature in your house.
That's the future.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that one, definitely, and let you know when it becomes sentient and when you need to run for your bomb shelter, absolutely.
By the time we're telling you, it's already too late.
Yeah.
Hey Rover, hey Rover, hey Rover. Yes, sir. What can I do for you? I'm too hot. I'll turn it down to 22.
And then it does that weird scary walk over the thermostat and just goes like...
And it can go upstairs to your thermostat, because sometimes they are upstairs.
No, I'm too cold, Rover, whose name is spelt in all capitals. It's an acronym.
Robotic. O's a problem for
Ozone verification.
If you're not sure what we're talking about, then maybe Google Boston Dynamics. What's it called? The
Big Dog.
Big
The
Dog.
Big Dog.
It is a terrifying
and also
robot.
Atlas, which is their actual running man robot, which is also every bit as frightening as you think it is.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
but all he can do is run around.
Yeah, but he
Rubbish.
weighs about 2 tons. When that runs into you, you're going to know about
You
it.
don't know
Step out
about
of the
it,
way.
absolutely.
If you're in between Atlas and your thermostat, you are absolutely screwed.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. Okay, then let's move on. Let's see what else is happening this week. So this is it's kind of a fun one.
There are some amusing things that are quite less harrowing than whatever Google's buying and
Yeah, let's roll
planning.
back from Visions of the Apocalypse for a little bit, shall we?
Yeah, but it'll be a lovely Google branded apocalypse. It'll be clean and nice and, you know.
Yeah, it'd be
it'll-
clean and nice for the robots.
Yeah, you know, but
The end of the world will be signalled by like a Google Doodle or something.
Yeah.
You'll click on
And
it
you'll be like,
then-
oh, that's weird. And you click on it and be like, you are being liquidated.
click on it and your computer explodes in your face. Anyway, so I had a bit of a daft list of things that you might not know the iPhone can do. This was sent over from the big tech brains at cheapholidayland.com, where we actually go for all our tech advice.
Where are we going this year, Dad?
Cheap holiday land. Yay!
Hooray, go kayaking. Well, you can get in the river, but I don't think there are boats.
That's not a beach ball, it's a breeze block.
Catch it, sir.
My favourite ride is the roller coaster that takes you to your hotel and you get there. It's actually a building site.
Oh.
I know, yeah.
When you say roller coaster, do you mean just the train?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so they did a little survey looking into things that that people don't know that their iPhone can do. And this
Yeah.
probably applies to most phones actually. That's probably everyone's got hidden features.
There's
and so
a
on,
surprising thing here is that there are loads of things that phones can do that no one ever tells you about.
Yeah.
I remember I think this is on the list actually. My mum has an iPhone and she was trying to take a picture and I showed her that you can use the volume up button as a shutter.
That is
and
indeed.
It blew her mind. She was like, "That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's changed everything."
That is in fact the number one thing on the list. So
Yeah.
way to ruin that segment.
Thanks for ruining it all.
Yay.
I wish I'd never introduced you now.
68% of people actually didn't know that they could do that with their phone. There's actually a few of these things that I didn't know, which I
Go on then,
feel
run us through
bad
the list.
about,
Yeah, go
on.
that I'm responsible for reviewing these phones.
What's on the list?
Anyway, so a spirit level it has.
Do you know how
Oh,
to
yeah, I
find
knew
your
about the
spirit
spirit
level?
level.
Yeah.
65%.
How does that work? How do you do it?
It's in the Compass app, I believe. And it's just a spirit level. You tilt your phone around and it tells you when your phone's level.
Great.
Brilliant.
Handy if you're putting it on a shelf, I guess.
I'm glad finally we've got a better spirit level. I'm sick of those other ones.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach Siri to pronounce words correctly.
I didn't
That's
know that
interesting,
actually.
yeah.
Should we give it a go?
Yeah, go on then.
I was at the
Why have we
Bet-
got a spare half hour?
I was at the Bet
Siri?
show the other day, and the opening speech was done by the UK voice of Siri. That guy, whose name I can't remember.
The guy from The Weakest Link.
Yeah. It
Cool.
didn't sound anything like Siri when he was on stage, though, because he wasn't in sort of disjointed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I cannot find the opening speech. Please
Let's me
wait
Google that for you.
Michael Gove.
Trying to think of something to teach Siri to pronounce.
Well, what about
What's-
can it say West away?
Langston.
Hang on.
Can it say
Hang on,
CNET?
hang on.
How about CNET?
Can never say my
Siri, pronounce Westaway, Weastaway.
Sorry, I couldn't find West away we used to away.
Rubbish. It doesn't,
Yeah,
name. Doesn't
okay,
work
fine.
at all. So
this is nonsense.
that's why people
Okay.
don't know how
Right,
to do it.
Let's
It
move on.
doesn't
But
work.
in theory, you should be able to teach Siri how to pronounce your
Yep.
name, for example.
You
Yeah,
can
in
delete
theory, there's a lot of
text
stuff
by
it says.
shaking your phone. Delete text
No,
by shaking your phone.
This is new. I didn't know that. Yeah, you shake your phone after you've written something. A little undo option pops up, and you can undo what you've. So you shake your iPad, and then
I knew that.
What if you just happen to be sending a text whilst on a quad bike?
Google Maps, which you're often using. The Google.
Just gloss straight over that one.
Yeah,
Sod it. Andy's got nothing good to say.
What Luke's doing
Why,
there.
why don't you get the hell out of the studio, Andy?
This is on topic. This is what you said.
Okay.
The Google Maps app. If you kind of, which you're going to be using out and about, if your phone shakes a bit with that, it's like, oh, do you want to send feedback? For some reason, it's like shake to send feedback, and then you press feedback, and it's like, what's your feedback? It's really annoying. It's really stupid.
Well,
Every time we
I can
use
see
that.
that would be useful. Say you're running along, and it says, "Oh, you want to send feedback," and you say, "Yes, this is a field full of balls, and you've marked it as a footpath." That would be useful feedback, and you're running away from the balls. See?
Yeah.
Oh, balls.
And then send balls. Yeah,
I thought you
balls.
said ball.
That's what I heard as well.
Why are you running from a field of
What's
balls?
wrong with you? Balls.
I was like, does he mean like a bowling green?
I'm walking through this lovely, lush, verdant field. People just hurling balls around.
Also, Google doesn't mark animals.
Yeah.
That was a
Maybe it
hypothetical
should.
example.
Maybe it should.
But
Maybe
yeah,
it
you
should.
should.
Anyway.
Right.
This
You
is
can
all
block
going on.
contacts. 48% of people didn't know you can block contacts. That's nice. 36% of people didn't realise you can put accents over letters.
That's interesting.
Cool.
As
Yeah.
in those little thing like
Who
an
ever
umlaut,
bothers
not
though,
like
really?
Geordie. Like, Siri, say why I, man.
Yeah.
There's a personal trainer. 31% of people didn't realise that.
Okay,
What-
I have
what does
no
that
idea
mean?
what that
Yeah,
is.
what does
I
that
don't
mean?
think there is.
I assume they mean that you can use like personal trainer apps with like the accelerometer and GPS maybe, because there's not a built-in something, is there? There's not like
No.
a
You
built-in
See, that one's even
personal
got. Yeah.
I
even
mean,
that
I'm ready
one's
to be
got
proved wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that iOS 7 doesn't have a built-in personal trainer.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
I am wrong, I'm sorry, but I looked into this when I saw this survey.
It has a torch. 9% people didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can send yourself a birthday message, which I might do because it's my birthday, although I don't have an iPhone, so I'm going to rely on Luke to wish me happy birthday.
That is
You
useful. Actually.
rely away, Andy.
That's really useful because I have a twin sister and I forget her birthday every year. So yeah, I think I might put that in there.
Yeah.
So,
you
yeah.
do have a twin, don't you?
I do have a twin
always
sister.
forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, so cool. That's if let us know if there's anything, any secrets about your phone that you knew that you knew about that other people might not necessarily know about, that people don't necessarily use.
Hints and tips. And
Windows Phone. Well, actually, one thing with Windows Phone, I know there's probably about 3 people out there who will
boy.
hear about this, but one of there's a multitasking thing where you press and hold the back button, which I didn't know about. So
Oh, that was new for.
That was new for
Internet,
Windows
that was quite.
7.
yeah,
Windows
exactly. I did not know about that at first.
something.
Also, your iPhone can send text messages and make calls, which about 92% of people didn't realise it does.
Making phone calls, yeah, definitely. That's
Making phone calls. Most people don't realise.
Every now and
that.
again, my phone makes a sort of weird buzzing, beeping noise, and I
Yeah.
get really
They
annoyed.
should get rid of those features.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no one uses those anymore.
It's
Yeah.
bloated.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. Well, let's
WhatsApp,
move on
Doc.
then. So, Sony, the Japanese company, has been synonymous, or Sony-nonymous?
So ninimous.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
Has been synonymous with technology since making the first commercially successful transistor radio 6 decades ago. So
Amazing.
there you go. It survived the internet and the iPod, but are Sony's best days behind it? So things aren't looking particularly great for Sony right now.
Yeah.
It's just had its credit rating slashed to junk by credit agency Moody's, and it's admitted that it's massively overestimated its profits for this year. So I mean, it's still making money. It's not massively in the red like BlackBerry or Nokia, for example. But it's not doing it's not it's definitely past its peak. So is it just a sign of the times? It's tough for everybody, or has Sony actually genuinely blown it?
Well, something we wanted to talk about, the reason we've Sony's been coming up and I've been looking into a lot recently, is that we've been doing an episode of Adventures in Tech on
These
the Walkman.
these guys
these
right here.
things. This thing I'm holding right now. And if ever there was a reason to get involved with the video version of this podcast, this is it, because we've tracked down, it took ages to find, a lot of careful eBaying. But we have here 3 very, very old Sony products. This one here is the original Walkman. It's the very first. It's the TPS L2. And amazingly, this one still works. I'm playing one of your mixtapes in here, Rich. You gave it to me. I didn't steal it.
I made it for you, especially.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just absolutely blown my mind because this gadget in particular, which came out in 1980 in the Western world, is slightly before my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always perceived Sony as kind of being about the PlayStation and then later about phones that weren't very good. And I guess I've never really had that much respect for Sony, but kind of looking into this and figuring out exactly sort of how they made this and the story behind it, it makes you realise I suppose, how massive that fall from grace is.
Okay.
Because this technology was not only kind of affordable and sort of changed the way we listen to music, but it was just a great idea. The other thing I've got here is this. This is the Sony TCM 600, although it's a TCM 100 in the US, fact fans. It's called the Pressman.
Yeah.
Now, this thing actually came out before the Walkman, and it's a voice recorder.
Okay, so this is the precursor to the Walkman.
This is a precursor to the Walkman. Sony was making this thing. It records audio onto a cassette tape, and then you can listen to it back.
Okay.
And
so it's like a dictaphone, basically.
Yes, it's just a dictaphone. Very, very simple technology. But someone was using this at Sony HQ to listen to music, and they were like, hang on, that's a good idea. So they built another one, the TPS-L2. If you look at them side by side, you can see how similar they are. They built one that just didn't have that recording power, and that was it. That was the Walkman. And that put them on top of the the world of personal music for decades. Yeah. And then they lost it.
Right.
Because they went with mini disc instead of MP3s.
Right. Well, they were the first people to produce CDs, weren't they? Or I believe commercially.
They were. Yeah. They heavily involved in that made the first CD player. I think the kind of first commercially available one. They pioneered the 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Yeah.
Blu-ray is kind of a lot down to them. So they've had this sort of massive impact on technology, but they just haven't had any massive impact in the last decade or so.
So where do you think then that things went wrong for Sony?
It's hard to say. Look, I think lots of it is just down to increased competition. Like Sony makes good TVs, but other companies make great TVs as well. It makes good smartphones, but other companies also make good smartphones.
Sure.
So I think it's sort of increased competition, particularly from Samsung. Samsung's kind of really sort of starting to muscle it out in TVs and computers and other things like that.
Do you think Sony maybe has a bit of a tendency to back the wrong horse, like Betamax, for example?
Maybe, but then like it also backed Blu-ray.
Okay, yeah,
over HD DVD, which was kind of it. So Betamax was Sony's thing, and it went horribly wrong. But Blu-ray didn't. So it's great at formats. It's great at technology. That's kind of its heritage, is engineering and design. It just hasn't had a incredible original thought.
Right, fair enough.
For a while, and
so
I think that's what it needs.
One of the big things that Sony's been backing a lot lately is 3D, and that's proved to be a bit of a damp squib, hasn't it? Because obviously Sony's in quite a unique position, really, because they have Sony Pictures, so they're actually making movies, and then they're making the equipment that you watch them on as well. So they've got that end-to-end thing. So they've got this vested interest in making movies in 3D, so that they can then sell you a 3D television. So they can charge more for the movie, and then they can charge more for the TV, and kind of win all around. But it seems that the world seems kind of universally indifferent to 3D, really, don't they? So
yeah, and well, this is the slightly complicated thing about Sony is that we think about it just in terms of the consumer technology, but it's so massive and it does so much that it can be propped up basically by its very successful like movie and music business. And you sort of wonder, like, would Sony be better if it just stopped making technology? Seems like an awful thing to say in the presence of the first Walkman.
I think no. Look, look. This one here in my hand is the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact, and that is a really, really, really nice phone.
Well, so this is it. I mean, Xperia phones haven't exactly set the world alight, but you're a big fan of this.
They're getting a lot better. Is the reason why. So some of the earlier ones, things like the Xperia Arc, and some of the Sony Xperia ones like the Play, you reviewed, Luke. We had like the pull-out gamepad controller on it,
yes,
which was awful,
Disaster.
and it was disastrous. It was terrible, and it was shameful. But it's doing some really, really good stuff. It's really pioneering and having waterproof phones, which we don't have in the iPhone, in the Galaxy S5 and stuff. It's really, but it makes so much sense to have a waterproof phone. I absolutely love it, and keep forgetting when I move back to other phones that they're not waterproof, and have destroyed more than a couple of phones in recent months because of that. But that's more my fault than anyone else's, to be quite honest. It's really, and they're just really, really nice stuff. It's doing good stuff, and they sell well in the UK, and they're sort of trying to push out into the US a bit more. Although things like the Compact here isn't going to be out in the US for the foreseeable future. But it's doing some really, really good stuff. Cool. It's a bit different and a bit. That's
good, because they've really made their mark, really, have they, in terms of Android phones, have they, Sony?
No, they're not made a big splash, but they're not doing anything like really different.
Lots of them aren't even on sale in the US.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh, really?
They've just got the Z1, which is a little bit different to how it is in the UK. They're not doing anything that's particularly stand out that is very, very, very different from anyone else. But what they are just for doing lots of good things very, very nicely on.
Yeah, I suppose we should remember as well that that they, the Blu-ray players, TVs, all that kind of stuff. It might be low margin stuff, but they're making a lot of them, and so that's probably what they're building.
It can be
TVs always sell well as well.
Something that here's a sort of technology fable that may or may not be true, but is kind of interesting anyway. Do you remember Aibo, Sony's robot dog?
Oh, that little guy.
Yeah.
Remember it well, yeah.
Love Aibo. It was completely ridiculous. Robot dog. It was rubbish. It couldn't move very fast or do anything. And it was incredibly expensive. It was like thousands and thousands to buy one.
Yeah.
But Sony kind of kept making them. And then eventually someone at Sony was like, shut down Aibo division, shut down K9 unit.
Put it down, yeah.
Exactly.
Send it to a farm.
Give them the old yellow treatment. And the kind of guy who was in charge, the creator of Aibo, reportedly, this is kind of like myth, but he held a funeral. They held a funeral for Aibo.
Yeah.
And the creator said that that Aibo represented a spirit of innovation and like imagination at Sony that was dead now.
Okay.
It was now dead that they'd sort of killed.
Oh.
So maybe Aibo, stupid as he is kind of representative.
It's a symbol, yeah. When Aibo died,
exactly,
that was it.
When Aibo died, he's kind of a symbol of a time maybe when Sony was happier to take chances.
I mean, this is amazing. One of the things I love, sorry, going back to this Walkman again, this is the very first Walkman, is that I love the fact that it's got the two headphone ports, and it's got this hotline button, so you can both be listening to your headphones, and you can press the button, it's got a mic, and you can talk to each other without taking your headphones out. I think that's fantastic.
That's because Sony thought, because like this is back in the day when listening to music sort of on the go wasn't even a thing. They thought that people would want to like listen in couples.
Yeah.
So the idea was you hit the hotline and then be like, this song's good, isn't it? And they'd be like, press the hotline. Yes. But they took it off in subsequent models. I've got the WM2, which is the second one here, which doesn't have the hotline because no one was using it.
It does have the cool belt holster.
It does have a cool belt holster. This one's also neat because it's so much smaller for like a second version to go from that to that.
It's a lot more refined.
Yeah, I mean it's barely bigger than the cassette. It's Sony, amazing stuff.
I had a knockoff cheap Walkman from Boots, actually branded Boots. So I guess it would have been made by like the equivalent of, I don't know,
Bush.
Yeah, exactly, that sort of thing. And it was appalling. We had to take it back like 3 times and get a new one because it would just chew up tapes. But then we'd spend all our time spinning tapes.
Yeah,
around,
you just put a biro in the little thing and twist it back up.
Exactly.
We haven't really said a lot about the PlayStation.
Yes,
how
I was
well
going to say,
Sony's
right.
doing.
That's
how
true.
Sony's doing in that.
Well,
it's really sort of leading the next gen push. Is getting all the much better press than the Xbox One is getting in terms of the design of the console, the games that supported, the quality of the games and
the
frame
price.
rates.
I would say that's true, but while the first PlayStation and possibly the PlayStation 2 were kind of the very cutting edge of gaming, I don't feel like the PlayStation 4, cool as it is, I don't really feel like it's sort of pushing the boundaries of like gaming as we understand it.
Sure.
In the way that the first PlayStation, when you got your hands on it, was like, what? This is like blows your mind. The PS4 is just kind of another PlayStation.
And Sony very much can't afford to rely on it in such a time of change in gaming. I mean, look at Nintendo. They've just they're about to disappear because their console failed. So with Steam and with casual gaming and all the rest of it, and online gaming, who knows if consoles still going to be around in a few years'
Big
time.
words, Rich.
Yeah, well, I like to back that stuff up. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, tell us what you think of Sony and what your memories are of Sony products. Did you have a Walkman? Did you have a different version? Did you go for mini disc? Did you back Betamax? Did you have an Aibo? Even I'm sure someone must have done.
Buried in the garden.
I had loads of mini discs. I
had a mini disc. Well, I had a mini disc player, and it got nicked at a party, and I couldn't afford to replace it. And that was actually a bit of a blessing because then mini disc disappeared. So there you go. Thanks
Maybe
very
that's
much,
happened to
Anonymous
Sony.
Steve.
Someone nicked it all at a party.
Someone
nicked their spirit of innovation when they passed out drunk on a sofa.
That's what happens when you leave your coat in the living room.
Yeah.
I remember once going into HMV and amongst all like the big packs of blank mini discs, because I'd never seen when you can actually buy an album on mini disc, and I did, and I went in and I saw one. They had one, and it was a Titanic soundtrack. So I mean, obviously I didn't buy it.
Oh,
why would
I
I?
hoped you were going to say you had the Titanic soundtrack on mini disc.
I thought you were going to say it was going to be like about 50 quid as well, definitely.
It probably would have been hideously expensive because mini discs were. They were.
Cool. Well, there you go. Well, let us know, like, and how the iPod. I mean, to be honest, I think it's great that Sony is still around. Frankly, after the iPod came along, I mean, if you look at, I don't know, Hitachi, are they still around? And all kind of like those old kind of classic names.
Yeah.
Basically all the companies you used to see on the front of football shirts in the
JVC.
80s. Yeah, exactly.
Sharp.
All those kind of people. Yeah. Well, they're sort of still around, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, Panasonic, where are they now? They're kind of clinging on. So yeah, I mean, let us know your memories of the Walkman and of mini disc, floppy disks, all that kind of stuff. Your tech nostalgia.
Can we do our video plug now?
Yeah, might as well. Go on then,
While we're speaking about the Walkman, as I mentioned, the latest episode of Adventures in Tech, which has just gone live. It's all about this incredible device. I've explained a little bit about its origins just now, but there's a lot more to see, and it has some of the most incredible product footage you'll ever see. Our producer Mark Ganley, who you will never see, has done some truly magical things involving lights and this weird metal grill thing to make it all look very, very 80s.
He has excelled himself. It's
very, very cool, and there's a bit with me in shorts as well. So.
Yeah, but don't let him hear us saying that. Definitely
It's a very, very good video. You should go and watch it.
Definitely.
Just search for CNET Walkman Adventures. That'll probably do it.
Or youtube.com/CNET. And
yeah,
leave us a comment or a thumbs up. And remember, if you haven't got anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Tell us what you think on the email and the rest of it. On that note, let's hear about what you guys have been saying in this week's feedback.
Checking into places. Mark Bridges says, looking at the Bitcoin business model, could you bring out a monetary system that works on solving conundrums? And if so, what would you call it?
Countdown coin.
Countdown coin.
Yeah, you have to solve a
Yeah. Cash.
yeah. And then you solve the riddle and then the FBI comes and takes it all off you.
Oh, what about you, Andy? What's your currency going to be called?
I would have
Hoyle
to
bucks.
Hoyle bucks,
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Hoyle bucks or
Andy bucks.
I don't know.
Hoyle dollars. Hoylers.
Coin, you feel the love tonight.
Excellent. That's
Perfect.
solved.
Perfect. And it's so snappy as well. Cool. Scott Yearbury says, what's the best over-ear headphones you can get for less than £75? So we were talking about Sony earlier, and actually, coincidentally, we've got two great pairs of Sony headphones to recommend. The Sony MDR ZX 600 is worth checking out. Andy, you were telling me a bit about them earlier.
Yeah, I've reviewed those guys, and they're about 60 quid. They look cool. They've got great sound. And everyone's got them actually because they're available in some great colours and they look cool.
Yeah, they're quite fashionable and they sound great.
Good
Better than Beats?
Better than some Beats.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Better than beats to the face, I suppose. Or
hedging your beats there.
yeah.
If you're looking for something less trendy and a bit more sort of professional, you might also check out the Sony MDR V6. Which is a kind of sort of iconic in some circles brand of headphones because it's very, very popular with producers, sound mixers, that kind of thing.
On the sound mixing circuit.
On the sound mixing circuit. I think it might be
Mark's
actually.
wearing those right now. Or there's Audio Technicus.
But we can't show you that.
But we have got a lot. We can't. You'll never see him. But we do have a lot of. Them in the.
You can actually
office.
see him. He's in one of your Adventure in Tech. He's a lawyer sat next to you.
Don't tell anybody that.
Yeah.
Should I not say that?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's an uncredited cameo.
Oh, that was an intern who just looked exactly like Mark.
Actually, no,
right.
Mark is in there, so you've got to hunt that down. You've got to watch all the Adventures in Tech
watch
now.
them all.
Yeah, twice.
He only appears when you've watched them 100 times and told all your friends. But yeah, there you go. Two amazing Sony headphones worth investigating. Cool. Rebbe Zahid just says Kit Kat.
Good.
I agree.
Excellent.
So yeah, any thoughts on Kit Kat?
Thumbs up.
I like the software and I like the snack.
That's the 2 thumbs up from Andy.
Yep. Double thumbs up, yeah.
All right, there you go. And Damien Holmes says, hi, I have a Nexus 5 and I want to get a Kai wireless charger. Is that how it's
I
pronounced?
believe it's
Key.
key. Or maybe it's
Key.
Oh no, it's spelled Chi, isn't it? But it's pronounced key. Yeah.
Key. It's
Yeah.
spelled Key. It's
Key.
pronounced Key. All right, let's just go with Key.
QI.
QI, wireless charger, and would welcome any help you can provide in narrowing down some options. The only opinion I currently have on these devices is that the really small ones don't make sense as you will be balancing the much larger phone on it, and you may not find it easy to get a sweet spot. Yeah, that's true. So Kai Key QI, it's a wireless charging standard, so if you've got a phone that supports that, if you buy one of these chargers that goes with that standard as well, then you'll be able to use it to charge your phone without cables, which is pretty cool. I'd recommend checking out perhaps the Nokia DT900. It's a Nokia thing, but it supports that standard, so it should work all right.
And is that a standard that can be used across different phones?
I believe that's how Key
so.
works. Yeah, I mean, I double check that, but I believe that's how keys work.
Yeah, look into it. But to be honest, like looking into this a little, your options are pretty slim. There are some really cool ones on sale in the US that we just don't have.
That is annoying. Yeah.
So I don't know. Have a look at the Nokia one. Check that it works with your phone, and or maybe import from the US if you're feeling extremely ambitious. Cool. That's actually it for the feedback.
Okay, cool. There was one other thing as well. Was
there?
Yeah. Oh, that was how you printed it out.
Oh yes. Oh, there it was.
This was so Dan Hatcher. We asked for what people thought about the new name for SkyDrive, which is Microsoft have had to rename SkyDrive their cloud storage service for Windows and Windows Phone because they lost the legal battle with Sky. So they decided to rebrand the whole thing, and they've chosen OneDrive. Although Dan Hatcher suggests that they should have called it Live Drive because he couldn't think of a name that's worse than Live Drive. And I mean, apparently Microsoft could, but
yeah, Microsoft gave it a good go.
Well, they're trying to cash in on 1D, right? I mean, their SEO for storage would be really good.
Yeah, I feel like Microsoft's cloud storage solution should definitely be going head to head with One Direction in the Google search race.
Absolutely, yeah.
They've got it sewn up.
Well, they want to tap into that huge fan base. All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for the feedback, everybody.
Thank you. Please keep it coming at facebook.com/CNET UK official, or tweet us at CNET UK, or drop us a line at podcast@cnet.co.uk. That's
right, and have a look at the Apple App Store or Google Play, and you'll find the CNET app. Just search for CNET Global, and then you can check out all your videos, reviews, news, and all the rest of it. Right, we've already talked about Adventures in Tech. Don't forget to watch that. And leave us a comment or a thumbs up on YouTube. And finally, what is Automatone reviewing this week?
Automatone is reviewing the Xperia Z1 Compact.
Well, I hope the executives at Sony are listening to that.
Yeah.
Certainly. There's a lot to chew on in that particular. Yeah, lots of things to think about. All right, thank you very much, Automatone. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Luke. Thanks to our producer, Mark, who you will never see. Right, we're off to rewind this podcast back to the beginning by spinning it round on a pencil. Bye-bye.